Hello friends, I Nirmala Rawat welcome you to my YouTube channel. Moving on to Chapter 6, Part 1, Departure from Mithila. After the wedding, Janak Baba fulfilled his promise and he and Mata took Shri Ram to the fields to experience firsthand the beauty of the soil. Janak Baba taught him to use the plough and Mata taught him about the living qualities of the soil and the bounty of the earth. Janak Baba told Shri Ram about the local councils being set up and he was eager to see them. So they also visited the nearby villages to witness the progress of these councils. Shri Ram took it all in, engaging in long conversations with Janak Baba about the nature of governance. Mata told us that Sri Ram said he learned more about governing from Janak Baba in those few weeks in Mithila than he had in all his years in Ayodhya. He had learned about warfare and the Vedas from Rishi Vashishta and Vishwamitra, but he had not yet had the opportunity to learn the subtleties of governance, and he was glad to learn this first from Janak Baba. Janak Baba seemed intent on passing on to Sri Ram some of his visions and premonitions for the future. He had seen that the power of Vidya would decline and the power of Kosala kingdom increase. The reach of the Raghu clan had grown immensely under the reign of Maharaja Dashrath. The capital, Ayodhya, was now an imperial center, extending its influence in all directions. The kingdom of Vidya was no match for Kosala except in one regard. It was the seat of knowledge. The coming together of these two kingdoms, the marriage of power and knowledge, would ensure a bright future for the Aryan region. If it could spread its high level of culture and civilization far and wide, the progress of the human species would aid all creation. Janak Baba knew earth was in declining cycle and much spiritual knowledge would be lost while material development advanced. It was this to which he wanted to dedicate his last years, helping preserve the knowledge through the dark ages to come. It was almost as if Janak Baba had willed this marriage, knowing the benefit it would bring to all humankind. He had trained Sita well, fulfilling the great responsibility that had been entrusted to him. He had exposed her to so many of the rishis and sages in the Aryan region, and she had imbibed their wisdom. He knew that Sri Ram would value this, as well as her care for all creatures, large and small, no matter their position in the scheme of things. The last of his great responsibilities was coming to an end, and Janak Baba greeted this time of closure with neither joy nor sadness. His withdrawal had begun. One evening, after returning to the kitchen, Soma shared with us some of Janak Baba's teaching to Sri Ram that she had overheard while serving the evening meal. We all noticed her silence as she entered the kitchen and began her chores. Normally, she was quite vocal, requesting this or that servant to do a particular chore. But this evening, she seemed not to hear us, and she began washing up and organizing the kitchen area. I asked her a question, but instead of responding, she stared off into the distance as if she didn't hear me. Finally, one of the servants asked what was wrong. Wrong? Nothing at all. She fell silent. You overheard a conversation while serving the evening meal, didn't you? Kiran asked quietly. She nodded. He said, Rohana also overheard something, but she couldn't understand what was being said. It seemed to be a subject of great importance. It was not for our ears, Soma replied quietly. Perhaps it is for our ears, and that is why Janak Baba allowed you to overhear it. You know, there is a reason behind everything that happens in this household. It was hard for Soma to resist Kiran. Whenever he spoke, he made so much sense, and she was so fond of him. As Soma began to speak, The servants in the kitchen gathered around. I will repeat to you what I heard. Perhaps you can make sense of it, Kiran. In the middle of the meal, as I was bringing in the last dishes, Janak Baba suddenly stopped eating and began to speak directly to Shri Ram. Ram, a king is a servant of his people, he said. When a king grows distant from them, he can no longer serve. All of the families in Vidya are known to me. I know their sorrows and seek to elevate them. Sri Ram listened intently to Janak Baba, who continued, even in an expanding kingdom, it is possible. An expanded mind can know a population, no matter how large it is. Does not Mahadev take note of each of our thoughts and desires? So it must be for a king in regards to those under his care. That is the responsibility given to us. That is why I regularly visit the villages. Sita often accompanies me, as she can read the hearts of the people better than I. She knows the need of each family. Self governance, Ram, is what we must aim for. That is the future, for the minds of rulers are increasingly clouded by self interest, not the interest of their people. I see that this is becoming the reality in many parts of the Aryan region. The only way to counter this is through self governance. Sri Ram looked surprised and asked, can people govern their villages if they cannot govern their own minds? Janak Baba smiled and replied, that is the role of our rishis, to teach people how to govern their minds so that they will then be able to govern their communities. We must plant the seeds, although it will take a long time to bear fruit. There is resistance. The villagers have not been eager for these village councils, as they would prefer to be governed than to govern. They would rather follow than lead. But that will not help in their mental development. My work is coming to an end, and yours is beginning. When Sita departs from here, I will withdraw more and more into the inner realms. You must plant an understanding of Dharma in human mind so that people themselves can resist the darkness that continually seeks to unseat the light. The time is coming when people will not be able to depend on their rulers to guide the way. Each one will need to take responsibility. That is the future, Ram, self governance. And it must begin with you, for you will set the foundation for the millennia to come. I have tried to plant such seeds among our people, but Mithila is small and Ayodhya will become vast. That is the role for you and Sita together. I understand now that this is why she took birth in Mithila, to bring to Ayodhya the knowledge that we have tried to awaken in the human mind. Soma paused in her narrative for a moment. I was frozen in my place as I listened to these words of her wise and all-knowing Janak Baba. I saw that Shri Ram and Mata Sita were in deep thought. I then remembered my duties and quickly began clearing the food and withdrew. I don't know whether the conversation continued or if that was the end. One of the servants looked at Kiran and asked, what did Janak Baba mean by all of this? What is the need for self-governance when we have such a wise Maharaja? I don't know, replied Kiran thoughtfully. Not every kingdom is as fortunate as we are to have such a Maharaja. I suppose he was seeing well into the future. Janak Baba's sight is not limited to only our kingdom or our time. His vision is far grander. We all sat in silence for a few minutes, reflecting on these words, and then we gradually went back to our work of getting the kitchen ready for the morning meals. Years later, Soma was to remind me of this conversation. Thank you for listening. Have a good day. Jai Shri Ram.